Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Border Hookups Go RVing,
where we travel the country full-time in our RV, playing our music and getting people healthy. So stick around. So I think I'm starting to understand it. These people come in here, they buy this little chunk of land, and it may or may not have water, it may or may not have electricity, and they just start to build it up and work on their art projects, and sort of like the little forts that we built as kids. And I don't mean that disrespectfully.
What I know about Bombay Beach, well, it was a thriving resort town back in the 1950s. Celebrities like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr., they would come out here on the weekends to enjoy it and, water ski. It attracted a lot of fishermen. Then the salinity of the sea increased so much the water became toxic. Then a lot of artists started coming out here. They came out and they had all of these old buildings that they could just, make art on. The Salton Sea was created from the Colorado River, which became California's largest inland body of water. They could buy land, beachfront land for $800. And they came out and they had all of these old buildings that they could just make art on.
Now I've come to the conclusion that I have one goal in life and one goal only, and that is to own a van with a disco ball in it. And a shark going for the disco ball. I just saw that when I spun around. I don't think it's too much to ask. That's all I want. I'm adding in the shark. That was a bonus. So this place is known as the DriveIn, and it's a bunch of old cars. There's a AMC Pacer over there with VHS tapes glued to the outside of it. Not sure what that means, but I think if I sat here long enough and contemplated it, it would make sense. Oh, there's a boat over there too. What do you think of this place?
I don't even know how to describe it. It's so surreal. It's decrepit, but it's so cool because all of these old vehicles and then you have something like this. It took somebody talented to do that. It's really cool. And it's just out in the middle of nowhere. And it's just the scene of a drive-in. It's so cool. Really neat. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on Bombay Beach?
Bombay Beach? I didn't know what to think. It was, at first, it just looked like a complete mess of a ghost town.
Right.
And
right.
The sea, the Salton Sea, was really weird because it was totally free of people swimming. So there was nobody swimming. There were no fish, I guess because there were no fishermen, and I didn't see any, dead fish or anything.
Right.
And there really were only a few seagulls here and there.
Yeah, and then we went. Ghosts. Speaking of ghost town.
I thought that might happen.
Yeah. So do you remember driving to Bombay Beach and we crossed these railroad tracks, and it's kind of one of those duh signs, but I had to back up and look at it again.
Wait, one of those duh
signs,
okay.
duh, and it was a do not drive on the railroad tracks sign.
Yes.
And I want to know who drove down the railroad tracks to the point where they had to put a sign up that said don't drive down this major route of railroad tracks.
Maybe it was the kids in the buggy with the dogs chasing them that we saw in Bombay Beach.
Right when we got there. There were 2 kids on this buggy, and this thing sounded like a Model T from the olden days. I mean, you just
Ew,
and then these 2 dogs, one little, one big, chase these kids around.
Yeah, and we saw the kids, remember, afterwards at the one store in town that was closed. There was a sign. The lady said she'd be back at 3, and so we were waiting.
She didn't come back at 3.
No, or 3:10 or 3:20 or 3:30.
No.
And those kids stopped in, and they were waiting too, and you asked them what they thought of living in Bombay Beach, and they said, well, we didn't like it at first, but now that we have this buggy, we love it.
Now they go everywhere on the buggy.
Yeah.
And these poor dogs follow them everywhere. And those dogs have to be exhausted.
They looked like they were having fun.
Just having a blast.
And it kind of goes with the whole feel of the town, because at first glance, it looks like the worst town ever.
Right.
And the worst beach ever. And why would anybody in their right mind ever live there? Yeah. But when you really start to ask the questions and dive a little deeper into it, a little light bulb goes on, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I bet you $100 there aren't any police to pull those kids over on the side of the road and tell them not to race their buggy up and down the streets.
And the artists in town have pretty much free reign of what they want to do. And we saw some really cool pieces of art.
Saw a cow on a roof.
Yes, that's right.
And we saw
what about that big fish?
The big fish.
That was really cool. We should have stopped and really looked at that.
Yeah, the thing we were trying to be careful about though is that people live there, and we didn't want to come through and just be like the crazy tourists, shoving our camera in their faces and saying, tell us about your stuff. Now, had somebody been out and about in their yard in a cool sculpture, I may have gone up and said, so tell me about your piece of work here. And then speaking of Ghost Town, we were driving through and we just saw the old sign for Bombay, like resorts or something like that.
With the ladies water skiing? That one?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it was there was one in the middle of town, or in the middle of the neighborhood, and then there was one out front, and then you could tell that something had been there, and something pretty nice had been there at one time. Yeah. My favorite was the black trailer that looked like it belonged in Roswell. It looked like something had like star spirals on it, and it looked like it could have been in the desert in Roswell, outside of Roswell. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another episode of the Border Hookups Go RVing, and if you've subscribed, we appreciate you greatly, and thank you for watching. And please remember, if you have not subscribed, to subscribe and to ding that bell so that we can let you know as to when we have more episodes coming out.
And if you liked what you saw in this episode, please give us a thumbs up and place a comment below. We enjoy hearing what you guys have to say, and we really hope to see you out here.
We'll see you out here.